Hello, my dear students. I'm back with yet another video for the students of Punjab history and culture. Now, you have the topic Mughals in Punjab, and that can be divided into two parts. One, you can talk about the Mughals in Punjab, and the other part of this topic is what has been the legacy of the Mughals to Punjab. So, I am going to talk about the second part because Mughals will be shortly kind of posted here. That will be on the PPT, but these are my handwritten notes, and we will be talking about the Mughal legacy to the Punjab. So before we start, I think I always like to have my tools because without tools, I don't think I can teach. I need these colorful pens to kind of distinguish. Right, so let's start with it. Mm, Correct. Now, so the question that we're going to do is the Mughal legacy to the Punjab, right? Now, so first of all, why was Punjab that important to the Mughals? I mean, what relevance did Punjab have for the Mughals? Let's talk about that. Now, Punjab was important to Mughals as it was on the way to Central Asia, and that was their native place. So, it was on their way to Central Asia. They could have their contact with the Central Asia, even if they expanded their dominions in Punjab. Number two, it was a great reservoir for the military resources and an approach to Kashmir that was a favorite place of visit for the Mughals after their conquest. So, of course, it was on the way to Central Asia, their native place. It was a reservoir of military resources and an approach to Kashmir, a favorite place of visit for the Mughals after its conquest. Now, Babur occupied Punjab in 1526. Then came Humayun. He also came to Punjab. But after being defeated by Sher Shah Suri, he begged blessings from Guru Angad Dev Ji. Akbar stayed at Lahore from 1585 to 1598. Jahangir died in Punjab. Shah Jahan introduced the canal system in Punjab. Aurangzeb got reaction to its fanaticism in the shape of Sikh revolt when Guru Gobind Singh Ji, established Khalsa in Punjab. So there was a continuous relation between the Mughals and the Punjab, and that is the reason why Punjab can feel the impact of Mughals in every walk of life, and that is what we are going to talk. What legacy have the Mughals left on Punjab? I think the first aspect that we have gone through will be your introduction, where you'll talk about it. Okay, why Punjab was important to the Mughals and how these Mughal emperors, thought of Punjab, how they kind of ruled over Punjab. Although, Bacho, this is not specifically for this because I will be dealing in great detail about this in my next video about what were the provincial governors during the time of these Mughal emperors and what important things did these Mughals do. But today's video will only focus on the legacy. Now, their legacy can be talked in five important groups, right? So let's again change the color of the pen. Now, we will talk legacy in terms of five important things. We will talk about the political legacy, we will talk about the social legacy, we will talk about the religious legacy, we will talk about the economic legacy and the cultural legacy. So let's start with the political legacy. So every legacy, I will be using a different pen, right? Now, first is the political legacy. What has been the legacy of the Mughals in the political field, right? Now, one, they established peace and political stability. Then is special attention to Punjab and its development, new system of land revenue, encourage historiography. So let's start with it. Let's just kind of mark all these important paragraphs and then we'll start with it. Okay. So one is peace and stability, right, in Punjab. Then is special attention to Punjab and its development. Then is the third point is the new system of the land revenue. then is the encourage historiography. So these are the 4 points that we will be talking about the legacy of the Mughals in the political field, right? Now, Punjab was known as Suba-e-Lahore under the Mughals. So, first important thing is that Mughals established peace and political stability. Now, after the Second Battle of Panipat in 1556, no such great war was heard in Punjab till the invasion of Nadir Shah in 1739. In fact, even Afghanistan remained the part of Mughal Empire till 1739. Thus, there was no fear from that particular side. So, first important legacy which the Mughals have given is the peace and political stability. Now, number two, as I told you, special attention to Punjab and its development. Now, keeping in view the importance of Punjab, Mughals establish efficient administration. So, let's talk about Humayun first. Now, you see, although Babur or Humayun, when I talk about them, they did not play that important role in establishing efficient administration because Humayun had to suffer the at the hands of Sher Shah Suri and Babur. The tenure was too small, just about 4 years. So it is actually Akbar which first started the era of development in Punjab. See, number one, he appointed governors of very high caliber in the art of administration. He made Lahore as his imperial headquarters from 1585 to 1598. Now, what did Jahangir do? He quite often visited Punjab because I told you why Punjab had become important for them. Because after when they had captured Kashmir, Punjab was en route here. Then is the one of the most important governors of Punjab, Itmad ud Daula, contributed a lot in road construction and building in Punjab. In 1627, Jahangir died and he was buried at Shahdara in Lahore. So, various Mughal emperors played their respective roles. Now, in the time of Shah Jahan, Ali Mardan was the governor of Punjab. He dug a canal from river Ravi and helped the people of Punjab during the famines of 1642 and 46. Dara Shekho was another popular governor of Shah Jahan's period. Now, during the time of Aurangzeb, his elder son Muzahim worked as the governor of Punjab. Thus, all the great Mughals, they gave special attention to Punjab. The next important point is new system of land revenue. Now, the Mughal administration in Punjab has left some important delible mark. For the first time, land measurement was done by Todermal because see, land revenue has always been the most important source of income for Punjab, but it was done in a very non scientific way, non logical way. The land revenue was just taken as a random thing. But here, for the first time, the land was measured by Todermal under Akbar. In 1582, he introduced Aine Deshala. Now, what was this Aine Deshala? It was very difficult to fix the land revenue every time. So, what he said that the new land revenue system, the revenue was to be charged on the basis of last 10 years average. That means whatever you have produced for the last 10 years, take the average of that, and that will be the land revenue. In fact, for measuring land, how do you measure land? That how much revenue the farmer has to pay? A jarib of bamboo joined together by iron rings was introduced. The method of irrigation was considerably improved during the time of the Mughals. Then they also encourage historiography. Historiography means they various books on the history were written. Now, during the Mughal period, numerous chronicles and historical letters were written. Abdul Fazl, Badoni, they were great historians of the Mughal period. Abul Fazl wrote Akbarnama, Aine Akbari. Badoni wrote Muntakab ul Tawarik. Gulbadan Begum, Humayun's sister, also wrote Humayun Nama. Okay, so this has been the political legacy. Now, before we go on to the next topic, I always like to revise. So, what did we learn till now? We learned about the political legacy of the Mughals. We learned that they played a very important role. That after the Second Battle of Panipat in 1556 till the Nadir Shah invaded in 1739, there was a total peace and stability in Punjab, and that was given by the Mughals, right? Even Afghanistan was a part of the Mughal empire till 1739. Then special attention was given to its development. Akbar appointed governors of high caliber. He made Lahore as his imperial headquarters. Jahangir visited Punjab en route to Kashmir. One of his governor, Itmad ud Daula, also helped in road construction and building. Then, during the time of Shah Jahan, the governor of Punjab was Ali Mardan. He built a canal from River Ravi and had helped the people of Punjab during the famines of 1642 and 46. Dara Shekho was another popular governor of Shah Jahan's period. Even the Muzahim, the eldest son of Aurangzeb, was the governor of Punjab. And the other one is the new system of land revenue. The land was measured for the first time. In 1582, Aine Deshala was introduced. The land measurement was done by a jarib of bamboo joined together by the iron rings. Then, as irrigation was considerably improved. In courage historiography, various books on history were written during the time of the Mughals. Now let's change the pen. Okay, let's change the pen now. We will use, okay, this one. All right, so now the next one we'll be talking about the social legacy. What has been the contribution of Mughals in the social field? One, the social status of the Hindus improved, development of the Indo-Muslim culture, position of the women, their food and dress, amusement, common fare and festival. So let's talk about this. First, we'll just underline the important aspect. The social status of the Hindus improved, development of the Hindu-Muslim culture. Then is the position of the woman, right? Then is the food and the dress, right? Then is their amusement, and the last point would be their common fare and the festival. So let's do the social legacy. The answer becomes a little, big, but then I think that's how they are asked. And at times you may even ask just the social or the political impact. So you have to be prepared accordingly. Sometimes when people say that history should be studied in a very manner that okay, only learn this or learn that aspect. See, I always tell you that history cannot be learned in isolation. You cannot learn the social impact while ignoring the political. Yes, while you write your answers, you have to be specific what has been asked, but understanding does not require specification. To understand the whole picture, you have to understand the whole topic. All right, now let's talk about the social status. Now, the religious Rajput policy of Akbar gave Hindus an improved social status. Jizya was abolished, pilgrimage tax was abolished. So, that elevated the status of the citizens of India, the Hindus, which was not the order during the Sultanate period. So, of course, the status of the Hindus really improved, and the credit goes to Akbar for his religious policy, Rajput policy. See, Hindus were kept on high mansab, right? They also served the Mughal Sultanate in terms of the revenue services. Most of them were the finance ministers. They were supposed to be good in maintaining the finance. Then is development of Indo-Muslim culture. The Mughal rule in India led to the development of the Indo-Muslim cultures. The Hindus started studying Persian, whereas Muslims learnt about Hindi and Sanskrit. Many works of Sanskrit were translated into Persian and vice versa. In fact, they also developed a common language, Urdu. That's very important. There were common rituals, superstitions, and the places of worship for both the communities. Then is the position of women. Now, in spite the Akbar's social reforms, the overall condition of women could not improve. Child marriage, female infanticide could not be checked. Sati and Parda system remained an important aspect in the society. However, the women during the Mughal period did leave their impact on the politics, and the most important example being Noor Jahan. Right now is the food and dress. And I think if I talk in a very general manner, still in Punjab the Mughlai food is quite common. In any of the restaurants you will find this dish, and people loving the Mughlai food. So this is also the legacy that we have got from the Mughals. Now Mughals had quite a liking for good food and alcohol. They were non-vegetarians, and they organized a feast on certain occasions. Wine, opium, and other intoxicants were generally used in the society. Halwa, kheer, khichdi, and other delicacies were prepared. Pickles and achar were also common, and I think this has been the legacy of the Mughals in the food. And especially if you talk about the rich dry fruits that were put in the food, that is again an important thing that we have taken from the Mughals. So food has been one of the most important legacies that the Mughals have left in Punjab, right? And moreover, Punjabis are very foodie. They love food. So that is one aspect which the Mughals have given to Punjab. Now Mughal emperors were also very particular about their dress, and they spent lavishly over it. Many of you must have done history during your graduation time, so you must have heard about the karkhanas. So karkhanas were something like the factories which were established by the rulers themselves, in which they employed the people to kind of work for them. They would prepare their ornaments, their dresses. So when we talk about the British, we also see the decline of the karkhanas, and that is how these people they revolted during the 1857, when there was a decline in their economic structure. Right then, Himayu introduced ul barcha, a sort of a waistcoat. Right, Jahangir adopted the Nadri code. I'm sorry I could not prepare a PPT on this, as I told you I was short of time. So of course in the coming lectures I will make some kind of PPT on this, where I can show you these kind of clothes as well. The ul barcha, which is a sort of a waistcoat, and Nadri coat, which was adopted by Jahangir. Then Akbar and Shah Jahan were very fond of flowery dresses with delicate embroidery on that. Now, influence of the Mughal dress could also be seen on the society. The dress comprised turbans with kulhas, salwars, pajamas, ghagras, jackets, and the dupattas. Noor Jahan's Nur Mahli was meant for both the bride and the bridegroom. I think even the anarkalis, which we normally wear today, is what we have taken from the Mughals. The I think the kind of long coats that we are used during the winters are also what we have inherited from them. An important aspect we have taken from the Mughals is the henna that is used to color the palms and the feet. Then pan, which was the favorite delicacy among the Mughals, they serve the purpose of lipstick and to sweeten the breath. Perfumes, oil, and datuns have also been taken from the Mughals, and they were very fond of this. Amusement, people were fond of chaucer, some kind of a chess, and a chopper, a game which was played with dice. And I think in during these COVID times, you found these games on the various apps, and they kept the children busy during these COVID times. So these games also have been inherited, have been taken from the Mughals. The common people, they were fond of wrestling. Outdoor entertainment was hunting, horse riding, and animal fighting. Akbar is said to have invented chopper and the playing cards. The Marasis, or these bharts, they entertained the rural masses by the style of singing. Then is the common fairs and the festivals. With the social interaction in the Punjab among the Hindus and Muslim, both communities participated in each other's fairs and festivals. So, number of fairs were organized in Punjab during the Mughal period, where both the Hindus and the Muslims assembled. So that led to the Indo-Muslim culture in Punjab. And that was visible till about 1946, when the situation became worsened and Punjab was bifurcated in 1947. Of course, I have my videos on the partition of Punjab, and that will be a part of your syllabi in the coming semesters. So now we'll be talking about the religious legacy, that what have these the what has been given by these by the Mughals in terms of your religious legacy. Now, they have taught us the religious toleration, the Naqshbandi sect, and the birth of the Bhakti and the Sufi movement and their impact. So, number one is the religious toleration, right? And then number two is the Naqshbandi sect. Then number three is your Sufism and the Bhakti movement, right? So these are the 3 points. Let's quickly revise them. All right. See, religious toleration is also one of the aspect which we inherited from the Mughal, especially it owes its kind of to Akbar. Um, During the days of Akbar is still an ideal which people of Punjab follow. He abolished jizya, pilgrimage tax. He married Hindu princesses, adopted many Hindu ways of living like Tuldan or Jroka Darshan. He also established Din-e-Ilahi. No doubt, Aurangzeb tried to undo all which was done by Akbar and tried to establish an Islamic state, but of course, he was not successful in doing so. Again, see Akbar's liberal approach. If it paved the way for the religious toleration, it also paved the way for Naqshbandi sect. Now, the Akbar's liberal approach towards all religions, particularly Hinduism, could not be accepted by majority of the Sunni Muslims. Thus, they felt that the Akbar's religious policy was a threat to Islam. So, Naqshbandi sect, with the emphasis on the observance of the law of Prophet or Shariat, made its presence in Punjab. It had its headquarters at Sarhand, and of course, Naqshbandi sect was one of the causes which led to the martyrdom of Guru Arjan Dev Ji. You can see the more detailed video on the martyrdom of Guru Arjan Dev Ji. Then, of course, the liberal approach of the state and the interaction of the Hindus and Muslims strengthened the Sufism and the Bhakti movement in Punjab. Both the movement preached love, devotion, self-surrender, and sacrifice. So, rise of Sikhism in Punjab was the Mughal legacy as it flourished under the liberal attitude of Akbar and got strength due to the suppression of the Akbar's successes. The last in this series is the economic legacy. Oh no, we also have the cultural legacy. So now we have the economic legacy. We'll just change the pen now. Right, economic legacy, we'll talk in terms of agriculture, we'll talk in terms of irrigation, trade, roads, and the industries. What has been the economic legacy of the Mughals in India? See, what is the difference between the Mughals and the East India Company? The only difference was that Mughals accepted Punjab as their homeland, whereas the Britishers, they always talked about themselves as the superior race, and while they were ruling in India, they justified that it was their duty to kind of talk about their own superior culture, and try to do the same with the Indians, whose culture and was thought to be of a low uh, part. All right, so first thing they talked about is the agriculture. Let's just underline all these major points. Agriculture, then is the irrigation. Don't worry, in my last thing I will quickly revise all of that, so it will be kind of easy for you. Then is trade and the roads, that we talked about it. And then is the industry. I think this is all in the Then we have the cultural legacy. All right, so let's talk about this, right? Economic will talk about the agriculture, irrigation, trade, roads, and industry. Now, one is agriculture, the number one. Now, agriculture during the Mughal rule was a major occupation of the vast majority of people. Major crops that were grown were wheat, rice, maize, vegetables, and fruit. The village economy was self sufficient. For the improvement of the agriculture, I told you that Todamal he introduced the land measurement, he introduced Aine Deshala, and Mughals gave a well attention to irrigation because irrigation is most important for agriculture. So they did dig wells and canals, right? Then for the irrigation, now method of irrigation of land was considerably improved during the Mughal period in the time in Punjab, and in the time of Akbar, the people irrigated their land by digging wells. However, by the time of Shah Jahan, his governor of Punjab, Ali Mardan, he suggested of digging a canal near river Ravi. The project was sanctioned about 1 lakh rupee, and after the completion of this canal, it irrigated the land near Lahore. The canal was further improved in the time of Maharaja Ranjit Singh, who tried to link it with the sacred tank of Amritsar. And even during the time of the British, this was converted into a great irrigation work, namely the Upper Bari Doab Canal, which irrigated vast patches of land in the modern districts of Gurdaspur, Amritsar, and Lahore. Then are the trade and the roads. Now, Punjab was situated on the way of the Central Asian countries. That means all the Indian trade during the Mughal period, it passed through two important cities, the Lahore and the Multan. Lahore, being the capital of Punjab, was linked by road to the distant places. So obviously, trade was much more influential in Punjab. Why? Because of the construction of the roads by the Mughal rulers. The road joined Lahore to Agra, Lahore to Kabul, Lahore to Srinagar. In fact, a special officer was appointed to look after these roads. In times of Akbar, Qasim Khan was appointed. Jahangir also got the trees planted on the road from Delhi to Lahore and constructed as milestones the Kos Minars. He also built sarais or small inns or small hotels at various places. Then, what were the major industries in Punjab? Now, the major industries in Punjab were these textiles, then the arms, paper, and woodwork. And what were the main centers of the industries? They were Sultanpur, Sialkot, Multan, and Gujarat. Right now, Lahore was very important. It was a great center of industry, important manufacturing products in Lahore was cotton, then silk, cotton, carpets, shawls, woolen stuff, tents, saddles, boots, shoes, swords, bows, and arrows, all were produced at Lahore. Then there were also the small scale industries remained under the village artisans like Lohar, Tarkhan, Sunar, and Mochi. So Mughals contributed a lot in the promotion of industry in Punjab, and this is where they differ from the East India Company. Last is the last is the right now. Last is your in the cultural legacy. Let's talk about what they give in culture. Now, in the cultural legacy, we will talk about the architecture, paintings, music, and literature. So let's talk about this. All right, let me just mark these things. I'm really sorry. I do understand that, I always say that I cannot teach history without map and the images, but this time, due to shortage of time and your exams just round the corner, I had to just teach you from my written notes. Otherwise, from these notes, I make my PPTs, I add pictures, but that will be done very soon. But till then, at least have some idea about these topics, right? So let's talk about the cultural aspect now, about architecture, paintings, music, and literature. So first is the architecture. The Mughals were great builders. They generally built palaces, tombs, and mosques. Now most of the Baba's magnificent monuments have perished, but the one that has survived is the Kabuli Bagh at Panipat. See, after Babur, the Persian influence on the Indian art increased and it continued. Now, this is very important. After Babur, the Persian influence on the Indian art increased and it continued till the end of the Akbar's reign. But after, Akbar, his successors, the architecture and the painting that became Indian in character. For example, if we talk about the Jahangir's Masalam at Shahdara, and then near Jahangir's Masalam, you also find the tomb of Noor Jahan and his brother Asif Khan. So all these have some kind of character which was Indian in terms of architecture. Right now, in the reign of Akbar, Guru Ramdas ji also founded Ramdaspura, and Guru Arjan Dev ji laid the foundation of the Harmandir Sahib. So that has been the legacy, and of course, I think I missed here about the gardens which have been built by the Mughals. If I talk about the Pinjore Gardens, the Shalimar Gardens, they are also the legacy which we have got from the Mughals. Right, then let's talk about the paintings. The art of painting made a great progress during the Mughal period. Now the Mughal painting, it represented a happy mingling of Persian and the Indian painting. All the great Mughal kings except Aurangzeb, they patronized its painters. Then about the music, now you have Babur, Humayun, Akbar, Jahangir, and Shah Jahan. They gave generous patronage to the competent musicians. Tansen was the most celebrated singer of the Akbar's period. Shah Jahan was himself a skilled musician. And when we talk about the literature, we are highly indebted to Mughals when it comes to literature. Now, during the time of Akbar, lot of Persian works were translated, right? It also led to the evolution of Urdu, which is a mixture of Persian and Hindu. In fact, the term Urdu was derived from the Turkey word, which meant the camp or the military camps. Now, one of the most important literary works of the period was also the Adi Granth in Punjab that was compiled by Guru Arjan Dev Ji. We also have other books which I have talked about in my various videos. We can talk about Abul Fazl's Akbarnama, Aine Akbari. We can talk about the autobiographies of Babur, Tuzak-e Babri, or autobiography of Jahangir, Tuzak-e Jahangiri. So all this literature that we talk about it, we are indebted to the Mughals. Now, in the last, 5 minutes, let's quickly revise what we have done, because I think we've covered almost a major portion of your answer. So we started why Punjab was important to them. Punjab was on its way to Central Asia. It was a reservoir of military resources. Approach to Kashmir. Punjab was en route to Kashmir. Right? And then we talked about the legacy, political, social, religious, economic, and cultural. In the political legacy, of course, there was peace and political stability, special attention to Punjab and its development, new system of land revenue, encourage historiography. So there was peace and political stability. Special attention was given to its development, to its administration, right? And that was done during the time of Akbar. He made Lahore as his headquarters. Then the governor of Punjab, Itmad-ud-Dawla, in the time of Jahangir, contributed to road construction and buildings. Then Ali Mardan, during the time of Shah Jahan, also built a canal, right? Then the new system of land revenue, where the land was measured by Todamal, Aine Daishala, right? In encouraged historiography. I talked about Abul Fazl Badoni and Gulbadan Begum, sister of Humayun, who wrote Humayun Nama. The social legacy, the status of the Hindus improved, development of Hindu-Muslim culture, position of women, food, dress, amusement, common fare, and festivals. The social status of the Hindus improved. Dasya was abolished, pilgrimage tax was abolished, and they were appointed at high mansabs, right? Then there was again amalgamation of the Indian and the Muslim cultures. Of course, the position of women was not that appreciable, but of course, we have these name of the woman who took active part in the politics, like Noor Jahan. Then about the food and their dress, no doubt about it, and about their dress, about the Jahangir's Nadiri coat or burcha, which was started by Himayu. Then, of course, the perfume, oils, the henna, pan, then their amusements, common fare, and the festivals. In the religious legacy, we talked about the religious toleration, bhakti, and Sufi movement, and the Naqshbandi, right? So that is what we talked about here. Right, and both the Sufi and Bhakti movement, they preached love, devotion, self-surrender, and sacrifice. When it comes to the economic legacy, the agriculture was the main occupation, and that was really, helped by the Mughals, the irrigation, trade, food, right? They gave special attention to irrigating these agriculture. So in the times of Akbar, it was just by digging wells, but Ali Bardan suggested about the canal. 1 lakh money was sanctioned. How Ranjit Singh joined this canal with Amritsar, and even during the time of Britishers, it came to be known as the Upper Bari Doab Canal. Then the roads and the trade. The roads connected Lahore to Agra, Kabul, Srinagar. In fact, special officers were appointed to look after these roads. Akbar appointed Qasim Khan. Jahangir got these tree planters, then various type of industries, textiles, arms, paper, and woodwork. And Lahore was the most important center, other being Sultan, Sialkot, Multan, and Gujarat. So Mughals contributed a lot in the promotion of the industry in Punjab. The cultural legacy, we talk about the architecture, paintings, music, and literature. They were great builders. They built palaces, tombs, and mosque. Kabuli Bagh at Paniput. And then we also have the Jahangir's Masalam at Shahdara, the tomb of Noor Jahan and Asif Khan. And who can forget the Taj Mahal, which is one of the beautiful legacies of the Mughals, and the foundation of Harmandir Sahib, foundation of Ramdaspura. Then also we have the various schools of painting which started during the time of the Mughals, the Pahari school, the Rajput school of painting. So that was also what we inherited from the Mughals, right? And last but not the least, music, and then the literature, which I talked about. The most important, the emergence of a new language, which was Urdu, a mixture of Persian and Hindi. So if I may conclude, then I'll say thus the Mughal provided political stability, social and religious toleration, economic prosperity, and cultural advancement to Punjab. So this is all which I have for you in the topic Mughal legacy to Punjab. And of course, my other video will be on the Mughals in Punjab. So whoever was the governors here and how they administered. So very soon I will be back with another video for you on the Mughals in Punjab. Till then, bye bye and take good care of yourself.